Hi, my name is Jeff Bale, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Teacher Education at Michigan State University. For my portion of the presentation, I'd like to share with you some information about changes we've made to our teaching methods courses inside the World Language Teacher Education program. You can see from the PowerPoint slide in front of you that ours is a typical program, a parallel program where students don't begin their teacher education coursework in earnest and towards the end of their undergraduate career. The benefit of this is that students get a major in their respective target language and have 4 years to really focus on developing advanced proficiency in their language. The downside of this parallel model is that teacher candidates spend the vast majority of their time just before entering the classroom in teacher education courses, which are almost always English medium. That is, the majority of their time just before becoming teachers, they're working mostly in English, which of course undermines their proficiency and potentially their effectiveness in the classroom. So the work I'm talking about here focuses on those two methods courses that you see the blue arrow pointing towards. It's a two-course sequence that students take in their senior year. All 6 languages we certify in are in the same section. We certify in Arabic, Chinese, French, German, Japanese, and Spanish. Spanish majors are typically 2/3 of every cohort of about 30, and all 6 majors are in one section. So we've made some changes to better integrate target language materials and target language work inside that 2-course sequence. So how we've done this is basically using a common English language text. When we started this work 2 years ago, we were using Joan Kelly Hall's textbook. This past academic year, we used an online format. The University of Texas at Austin has developed what I think is an excellent online foreign language methods course that's completely free. So students would be given assignments to engage with those common English language texts. But then we also identified language teaching methods textbooks in each of the 6 languages that our students major in, and ask those students to buy those textbooks in terms of course adoption. And then we also found a number of other online and PDF and article type resources in all 6 languages. So for example, if students were learning about how to, what the principles were for developing effective writing activities, they would engage with the writing module on the UT Austin website and then do additional readings in their respective target language about writing activities. So you can get a sense then that essentially we've turned our methods courses to one extent into content-based language learning courses where the content is the stuff of teacher education, and we're using the 6 target languages to mediate students' learning. Just a couple words, if I may, about why we're doing this. I think by now my 2 colleagues who are with you have already shared with you the new OPI benchmarks that are part of teacher certification requirements in Michigan. The reality so far is that of the 3 or 4 cohorts to which this new policy applies, about 10% each year don't make the mark. That means basically 2, 3, 4 people out of every cohort are not able to make the OPI benchmark requirements. So part of it is simply giving them another opportunity to develop advanced proficiency in their language by learning how to teach in their language. There are academic reasons as well. There's not really a lot of empirical research on teacher candidates' target language proficiency, but that which exists is typically from the perspective of the language department, not necessarily the teacher education department. And in terms of policy, this is also important to me. People will know that there's an immense amount of pressure being applied to teacher education right now nationally to make changes. This general pressure has applied specifically to world language teacher education most recently. For example, a 2010 white paper from the National Foreign Language Center, which I think is filled with lots of assumptions that traditional TE programs like that at MSU are not going to be sites of innovation. So we're actually trying to talk back to that assumption a little bit in terms of our work here. Let me share with you now some examples of the work we're doing. The teacher preparation program at MSU is a 2-year program, and in our case, for world languages, the entire curriculum is hosted on this particular wiki. last fall in the senior year course, students really the heart of this course is learning about the ACTFL and then Michigan World Language Standards, and then focusing on principles for designing effective language learning activities in all four skills. So again, students would engage in the UT Austin website for common English language information, and then would read their respective target language texts for information about designing effective language learning activities. As one example, this isn't tech-based, but you get a sense of how we balance target language and English language work. These pictures are from in-class work around reading comprehension. Students were asked to produce a visual and some notes based on what they had read in their target language texts about effective reading activities. And then we jigsawed them into English language groups to look at each of the stages of reading activities, and they produce summaries of their group discussions based on those stages. So you get a sense of, across a 3-hour class session, students would spend about half that time in English and half that time in their respective target language. Another example, students were asked at the end of a unit on developing interactive activities, speaking activities. They were asked to use some form of technology to design a summary or a poster that they would use to share information to other teacher candidates in their language. So some students use Bubble, some students use Prezi, some students use just traditional Word and Publisher as a way to do so. But you can get a sense again of how we've turned our methods course in some ways into content-based language learning. In other words, learning how to teach in their language, not just learning how to teach about their language. If you have any questions about the materials we're using, my colleagues will be glad to give out my contact information. Otherwise, thanks for your attention.